Ho ho ho, and welcome to the Movie Dudes Christmas special. I am Alec.
And I'm Phil. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Today, we're going to be talking about Frank Capra's absolute classic Christmas film, It's a Wonderful Life.
Mm-hmm.
So, I uh, I guess we could just jump into It's a Wonderful Life.
I guess so.
So starting out with a bit of a plot overview, the movie starts with us seeing different prayers from everyone around the town of Bedford Falls on Christmas Eve of 1945 for a man named George Bailey, and then uh, we see some angels and stars communicating with each other to gather an angel to get help for George Bailey. Uh, and they bring one in named Clarence, who is about to get his wings for if he does this job well. And they decide to, show him a bit of George Bailey's life and how he got to this point. So we, we start out when he was a kid, saving his brother's life. Uh, then we get to him. Uh, his whole ambition is to travel the world, um, but he decides after high school to stay in the town of Bedford Falls to work at his father's uh, on the brink, I would say, business.
Mm-hmm.
The building and loan. That's basically just a house construction company. And George saves up enough money for college and decides to go on a world tour before college. And he's like, "All right, it's time to go." And so he is about to go, but his kid brother's like, "Hey, how about we go to the school dance and hang out?" In which he's reintroduced to an old childhood friend of his named Mary Hatch, who, you know, they basically they spend most of the night together and kind of discover they have chemistry together and kind of start to like each other. And George's basically like, yeah, this I'm gonna travel the world, I'm gonna see the world, but they are interrupted by some friends of his father's in a car that said, "Hey, your dad's had a stroke," and or George Bailey's dad passes away. So he's left with basically two choices: either to leave the country and do his world's tour, or stay in town and save the building and loan from going out of business. He decides to stay in town and give the college money to his younger brother Harry and sends him off to college. Um, and he waits another 4 years for Harry to come back, and then is told that Harry got married, and will not be taking over the building and loan. So he decides to stay in town, uh, marry the girl Mary, and on their wedding day, um, he is going, or like they're about to go on a big honeymoon, travel the world, just like he wanted. Uh, and then the Great Depression happens, and literally everybody in town is going crazy. His business needs to stay open because everybody wants to pull their money out of his stocks, but he decides to give all of his honeymoon money to the town to kind of get them to, you know, uh, stay within his business, so he doesn't lose it to the basically antagonist of the movie, Mr. Potter, who is this old miser who pretty much just owns the entire town. But you know, time passes. World War II starts. His younger brother Harry goes into the war. Let's see what else. I'm trying to think of what else happens between now and then. I think pretty much that's about it for them. The Great Depression is okay for them.
Yeah.
They go through pretty well. He creates Bailey Park, which is just kind of this, section of nice houses for everybody in his building and loan business. And then on Christmas Eve of 1945, his brother Harry is awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor, and is coming back home. And in the middle of these, plannings for like a party for him, George's business partner and family member, his Uncle Billy, his father's brother, goes to the bank to deposit $8,000 of their cash from the building and loan, which, obviously $8,000 isn't that much today, but I mean, back then that's an insane amount of money.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so while at the bank, Uncle Billy loses this $8,000, and it is picked up by Mr. Potter, who decides to hide that money from both Billy and George, who come looking for it. And this basically begins an insane spiral through like George trying to find a way to get it, but he goes to Potter. He begs, but Potter says no. George takes his frustration out on his wife Mary and his new kids, his kids that he had in between now and the Great Depression. And so, while he's at Mr. Potter's, or while he's trying to beg for him for money, or for a loan, Potter points out the fact that George has a life insurance policy that is about $15,000. Potter basically equates that to mean that George is worth more dead than he is alive, and a warrant for George's arrest is placed due to fraud for losing $8,000. This basically causes George to become suicidal, in which he goes to a nearby bridge. But before he can jump, the angel from earlier is sent down. His name's Clarence. He's sent down and dives into the river, and George rescues him. During the aftermath of this moment, George wishes that he had never been born, in which Clarence shows him a world where George wasn't born. His brother died when he was younger because he couldn't save him. All the people that his brother saved in the war died because his brother didn't exist. Mary is an old maid who doesn't have, or who never got married. His mom runs like a bed and breakfast because she has nothing else to do. His uncle is in the insane asylum. And Bedford Falls is now Pottersville because without George Bailey, Mr. Potter took over the entire town. Basically, all of these things show that George really did change the town and everybody in it for the better. Which then George basically freaks out because he's like, I don't have my wife, I don't have my kids, I want to live again. And so he begs Clarence for his life back, and the original world is restored. George runs back home to kind of see that everybody's back, and even though the police are literally in his home waiting for him to come back so they can arrest him, George just runs past them, greets his kids and his wife, and is celebrating. And then Mary's like, well, look what happened while he was out. Mary and Uncle Billy kind of like rallied all the townspeople to donate whatever they have to cover the missing 8,000. And basically that all happens, and that's the end of the movie, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now to get into
Um,
like, I guess,
yeah.
specifics.
Mm-hmm. So, well, that was my first time watching it, and I think this was it your second time watching it?
This was probably my third. I would say third.
Okay. Um. So for my opinion of the film, I actually really liked it. Obviously, I will say it's one of those movies that like I've heard about it so much that I've kind of made expectations of what the story is about, and when I ended up watching the movie, it wasn't really that close. For example, I thought the movie was gonna be much more related to like Christmas time, but at the end, like, um, Christmas only comes like by the end of the film.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect that there would be such a large portion of the film just talking about his life in general. Like there was a whole portion of about his childhood at the beginning, and then there was a time skip to when he's an adult, and I thought that was gonna be it. But then I saw that he didn't have kids, he wasn't married, and then it all went to talk about his entire life.
Yeah.
So that was kind of unexpected, and I thought that um, I feel like some parts kind of dragged on for a while.
A little bit. Yeah, I
A
can
little
see
bit,
that.
but definitely like the last 30 minutes when he becomes suicidal and there's the whole part with Clarence and everything, then it became much more. I don't really know. Don't really know like what word to use for that, but it became a lot more, I don't know, interesting, I guess. And I got more into it, that's for sure.
Yeah. I understand.
Mm-hmm. Um, but yeah, I'm not sure if it would like become my like Christmas movie that I watch every year, but
Right.
uh, that was a fun time. Well, except for the like dramatic parts, but like it was a
Right.
good movie. I will say too, like that's something that I wrote. Surprisingly funny.
It is a funny
I
movie, right?
I
It's really
didn't,
fun.
yeah, I didn't think I'd be laughing, especially for a movie that's like what 75 years old.
Yeah,
I
just
didn't
about.
think that like yeah, I thought there would be too much of like a I don't know, like yeah, it would be too old for me to really like kind of understand what like why everyone's acting certain ways and the different jokes and all, but at the end of the day, like I thought it was pretty funny, surprisingly.
Yeah, like I wrote about this in my letterbox review of it last year.
Mm-hmm.
But I talked about how like weirdly fresh the movie feels. Like whenever I watch it, it's always like it doesn't feel like a movie
Hmm.
that is nearing 100 years old. Um, but it absolutely
Yeah.
is, and it's like I think it's such a fresh, not even well, obviously fresh in quotation marks, but a fresh take on I guess a
Right.
Christmas movie because every other Christmas movie you see is mainly set on Christmas. Uh, but It's a Wonderful Life bas- basically only sets like a good bit, like a little chunk of the movie in
Yeah.
actual Christmas, and it actually, I don't know. I think it says a lot more about like what it feels like the Christmas spirit to me than most other Christmas movies that I see. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that was another thing I guess I wrote down is like I didn't have too many notes this time around, but one of the things I noticed, or one
Right.
of the things that I thought about more than anything when I was watching it was just like how much this movie makes me think positively.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
like there's so many moments in life where you're just you're gonna think like negatively about the world, about other people. um but whenever I watch It's a Wonderful Life, all of that like cynicism just kind of washes away, and you get like, what, it's like I have people in my life that are like awesome, and like I love people, and it's
Mm.
like I always leave the movie feeling good, I guess is like a good way to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've never had a bad aftermath of watching this movie, and especially not the first time I watched it, because I remember I was maybe like 14, 15 when I first saw this, and
Mm-hmm.
my first reaction was just like, and I wasn't too into like older movies at that time around, so I wasn't exactly thinking I was gonna like it, but I remember leaving it going like, yeah, that's what a classic is. It's like that's a
Yeah.
classic movie right there. And
Yeah.
I mean, we already talked about the idea of like, I guess repeating viewings of a movie. Uh, at least I think we did. Did we mention that last episode?
I don't remember.
I think we did. That feels like something well, it's we either mentioned it last episode or I've talked about it recently with someone else,
Mm-hmm.
but just like that's a big thing that I think about like during the holidays. It's like, what movies should I watch that will still like that I'll still like enjoy watching? Because with a lot of
Mm-hmm.
Christmas movies, at least in my kind of in my view of it, it's like I I can't watch a lot of them anymore because I've seen them so many times
Yeah.
that I feel like I feel like I'm not gonna have fun watching it, and I get bored really easily. Like with prime examples being like,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, I would say like Christmas Story, Home Alone to a lesser degree, um, Christmas Vacation, but just like
Yeah.
most of those big ones, I'm like, you know what, that's I want to wait a while before I watch that again, and I'm gonna do the same next year with It's a Wonderful Life because I've seen it about 3 times, and obviously that's
Mm-hmm.
not nearly as much as I've seen those other movies, but it's kind of getting to a point where I'm like, okay, let's take a break with It's a Wonderful Life for a while, even though it is
Yeah.
probably my favorite traditional Christmas movie.
Right.
But yeah, and I don't know. I was talking about this with a friend of mine recently because I was just like, why am I like this? Because like I haven't met many people that have like the same view of like rewatching movies that I do, because I don't do it often. I like to
Mm-hmm.
just
Same.
I like to just get new experiences all the time. And so I'm like, well, what's the deal with that? And I talked about that with my roommate, and he was like, I think you do. He was like, I think you do that because like you remember movies a lot more than I do. Because he was like, I just watch like anything, I absorb it, and I just go okay, and then I just don't watch anything for a
Hmm.
while. And I'm like, I guess I do like just watch things all the
Hmm.
time. So obviously,
Right.
I don't know. My brain kind of goes through like a, I don't know, almost like a Google search history delete every like 3 or 4 years with movies.
Well,
It's like if you ask me to remember certain things about a movie I saw a year ago, versus one I saw 4 years ago, I would be able to remember the one I saw a year ago a lot easier.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But oh shit, what was I gonna say? Fuck, I forgot. Um. Oh man, this sucks. Shit. I had something that I had to say that I thought was somewhat interesting, but I completely forgot what it was.
That's
Um.
okay.
Yeah. Um. But yeah, well, I wanted to say that's another thing about Christmas movies. I made kind of a terrible I realized something that I think is horrifying recently, which is how in the 80s 90s there were quite a few Christmas classics that are still classics to this day, like obviously Home Alone, and for some reason that's the only one that I can think of right now, but obviously a lot of I don't know. My brain's tired right now. I don't know what's happening, but yeah, a lot of the Muppets Christmas Carol. That's another one that I really
Oh
like.
yeah.
All those classics, and I was thinking, what are the classics today? Because like the more recent Christmas, like classic Christmas movies that I can think of are like Elf, which is like I think it's from
Which is like
2003,
yeah, which is like nearly 20 years old.
which is yeah, it's like as old as I am still like. And the other ones that I think of are like the recent Home Alone movies. Like they made a new one this year that's on Disney Plus.
They did?
Yeah, it's with one of the kids from Jojo Rabbit.
What is Hang on a minute. Give me
Yeah. And like I saw the
Oh,
trailer
no.
and it's what is it? It's Home Sweet Home Alone with
Oh, that looks awful.
yeah, with what's his name? With Archie Yates, who was in Jojo Rabbit, and I thought was actually really good in Jojo Rabbit.
No, he's a funny kid.
Yeah, he was great in that, and unfortunately he made a Home Alone, which I think is Home Alone 6. Yeah, Home Alone 6.
Yeah, it sounds about right. I'm sure it's
Yeah.
fine. I'm not gonna speak about it unless like
Oh well,
until I
it's
see it.
yeah. Well,
but like,
it's gotta be like
yeah.
an inoffensive movie, you know.
oh yeah, it's I'm not. Yeah,
It's just
not gonna be
it's just
too
a Home
crazy.
Alone movie.
It's just Home Alone.
Yeah.
Um,
But another. So what I was thinking is again, what are the Christmas classics? And I found like that, not necessarily Christmas classics, but the Christmas movies, the big, with quotation marks, the big Christmas movies that are coming out these years are like the Hallmark Channel's shitty rom-coms,
oh my god.
which I
okay.
yeah.
Tangent
Yeah, go ahead.
tangent on those for
Yeah.
a bit.
Uh-huh.
So my my dad, you know, him him and his wife every Christmas, this is their tradition, is they watch like, I kid you not, like probably dozens of these Hallmark Christmas movies. And sometimes I sit in on them and watch them. They are, obviously mostly the same. But there's this one that I think is just incredible because it breaks down the entire Hallmark formula in the most ridiculous, like awful, stupid way that I love.
All right.
So a big template, I guess, of the Hallmark Christmas format is the main character is this well-to-do businesswoman who is romantically involved with a well-to-do businessman, but that businesswoman runs into an old flame from her past, who is not exactly too rich, but he's got a good personality, and they get together in the end. This one, I have no idea what it's called. I just remember I watched it one time when my dad and my stepmom had it on, and I was watching it, and obviously you get the whole scene with the businesswoman leaving her place of business. It's like, I have to go get a coffee or whatever. But she runs into her ex-boyfriend, who is now a driftwood sculpture salesman by the river. And she's like,
okay.
yeah, she's like, and it basically it goes on like normal, but just I couldn't shake how funny it was that because it's usually like you get either I don't know, like a mailman or something, like just kind of like a decent job, but not something that you would be surprised by. But this guy was a down on his driftwood salesman. Who that, I guess that's the thing about these Hallmark movies, is that you're never gonna find one that has too much of an insane plot.
Yeah.
But they'll have these little moments that are so weird. There was this one I watched, and this is the last one I'll mention, called Christmas Camp. That's about a woman who does not have Christmas spirit, who I think I don't remember why she goes there, but it's this weird camp that teaches people how to have Christmas spirit. and it's like run out of this woman's house. That's like a bed and breakfast, and she has this son, who I swear to God, if he wasn't like the handsome guy, who definitely had nothing wrong with him, I would have thought he was a serial killer. It just acts so weird throughout the entire movie. But yeah, I was gonna bring that up too, about the fact that like that's like the only Christmas movies that are made anymore. It's like
yeah, they are.
You get like the odd one out. Like there was that that movie on Disney Plus a couple years ago called Noel. And then you get like the Kirk Cameron Christmas or something like that. But then you don't really get much else. But yeah.
And just to close that tangent, I just want to mention my favorite Letterboxd list, which is called Christmas Movie Posters with White Heterosexual Couples Wearing Red and Green, which is just a massive list of 195 movies, like those kinds of Hallmark Channel movies, that those posters all look the same.
Oh my God.
Do you have it in front of you right now?
Yeah, I have it in front of me right now. This is insane.
No, it's actually crazy.
This is they really are almost the same. Or they
yeah.
But like, I'm trying to look for them to see like an odd one out, but there's not.
No, plus the list is like color coded too, which is what makes it even more like surreal. Yeah, so that's a fantastic list for movies that really aren't so great.
Yeah, absolutely insane. The insane, I guess, homogenizing of all Christmas movies into this one strange little world where it's always Christmas. Because I genuinely can't remember what else Hallmark does.
Yeah. Because, see, the thing is, those movies must be very, very, very cheap to make. And I'm sure a lot of people watch them. So, in terms of... Yeah.
They look like they've been shot on, like, an iPhone or something.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if some of them were.
I mean, if you're doing a Hallmark Christmas movie, go ahead. I think that'd be fun, though. That'd be... That's like on the level of starring in, like... I don't know, like a Lifetime drama. It's like if I were able to star in a Hallmark Christmas movie, I think that'd be pretty fun.
Right. But yeah.
I guess back to if you wanted to finish.
Well, I just want to say, like, in terms of profit, there's a reason why there's so many of those movies. They must be like pretty good in terms of profit, but that's pretty much all I had to say. So back to It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah. Trying to think of other cool things to mention here and there. I love James Stewart, obviously. I think he's probably one of the best actors of his era, and it's always just fun to see stuff that he's in.
I've only seen 2 movies with him, which are obviously It's a Wonderful Life and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, which is another film by Frank Capra. I saw that one last year for one of my classes, and honestly, like, it surprised me just how good it is. And I think I might like this one more than It's a Wonderful Life. Especially the people who have seen this film will know, but the last scene is just incredible.
I really want to see that one. But the only other Stewart movies I've seen are his Hitchcock roles in like Rear Window and Vertigo, which Vertigo is incredible.
Yeah, I gotta watch some more Hitchcock.
Yeah, it's I do too, honestly.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I've only seen Psycho. That's the only Hitchcock film that I've seen.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah. No, I
Okay,
need to watch
yeah.
some more Hitchcock.
Yeah, you definitely do.
Yeah.
But I still have a lot I need to see. I've only seen like a handful.
Right.
But yeah,
Mhm.
so James Stewart is incredible. He's really funny throughout the movie. His personality is
Yeah.
really addicting to watch. I love the way he talks. I don't know
Yeah.
how else to
Yeah.
say it. I just like the way that he, I guess, carries himself in dialogue. There's one scene
Mhm.
that I love especially is when he finds out from Uncle Billy that the money has gone missing, and
Mhm.
he's like shaking. He's like, "Where's the money, you old fool?" It's just so
It's
good.
actually
Like,
it's something that I wrote like sometimes this movie is can be really weird for certain reasons and I never know if it's actually supposed to be weird or if it's just old. And that's just how movies were at the time.
like what scenes do you mean
I
specifically?
don't see that's the thing. I don't remember what scene I was watching when I wrote that, but it's mostly a question of like the way the characters talked, what they did, mostly how they talk actually, and
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just a lot of I haven't seen that many movies from like the 40s and 50s. Um, like especially in the past few years, the only pretty much the only films that I've seen from that era were like mostly um like Akira Kurosawa movies. Besides that, I haven't seen a lot.
Right. Yeah. I remember in like early high school I delved a little bit into like classic Hollywood, which if I'm being honest, classic Hollywood is not
Yeah,
exactly a it's not exactly like a genre I find myself loving too often unless it's like, Alfred
yeah,
Hitchcock or James Stewart movies. If it's like just like a regular uh Hollywood classic movie, I'm like, yeah, I think I'm okay.
yeah, yeah. I
But
mean, I had a
usually,
class.
usually
Mhm,
it's a decent time.
yeah. Well, I had a class that was about like Hollywood cinema where it was about the entire history of Hollywood from when it was created in the first few films up to like the MCU and the big blockbusters.
Mhm.
And so we talked quite a bit about like old Hollywood and actors like Greta Gerwig and no, not Greta Gerwig. That's not what I'm looking for. I don't remember the name, but old actors, and so that was
Yeah.
quite interesting. But pretty much all of those movies were like that seems pretty cool. But I'm not really that interested in actually watching them.
it
But one day.
like I said, it really does depend.
Mm-hmm. It's honestly really a question, almost a question of like certain directors that I'll be more interested in. Like Hitchcock is definitely a director that I would really want to go to watch more of his movies. Also, like not really a director, but Charlie Chaplin is like I haven't seen a lot of his movies, and they seem very interesting, especially like his talking movies, like the Great Dictator, and there's another one I think it's called Limelight that I saw on the
Mhm.
channel, like that I saw that it wasn't on the channel, and I thought it was very it looked really interesting.
I have a I have like I don't know, kind of a I would say in terms of like yeah, classic Hollywood I'm not too big of a fan of like watching most of the time, but I am especially not that big a fan of the silent slapstick era of like
Yeah.
I have most of Champlin. I like Buster Keaton kinda. Like I like some of his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But mostly like during my early film classes last year, it was definitely a unit that like I I tried to get through as fast as possible because I'm like, man, this is a
Yeah.
little much. And I remember there was this one movie specifically called called The Last Laugh, which was part of the like the big German film boom. That was probably the most boring thing I've ever seen. And that's not to say that I didn't really see that's not to say I didn't see like the artistic merit in it.
Yeah.
It was just not very interesting because it was, for all intents and purposes, an hour and a half of a man walking around just a town and doing things in absolute silence.
Oh, yeah. One of the most boring films I've seen in class was in another class I had that was like about history of cinema in general, and so that was a film that was called Men with a Movie Camera, which is considered to be one of the first documentaries from 1929, which is just like a 70 minutes long movie that's just a collection of a bunch of clips that the director took. And my teacher was talking about like how he used editing to make it look not to make it look, but to make it like to tell a story through the different clips. And I just like that was a class that we had like through Zoom. So thanks to that, we all had to watch the film like on our own. So basically, I was able to watch like 30 minutes and no, not like 20 minutes, and then just go like, "Yep, I don't have to watch anymore," and I just stopped. Because it's like, yeah, I guess like if you look at it a certain way, there's definitely something interesting about it. I'm sure he was really the director was really good at what he did. But it's at the end of the day, it's just an hour of random clips with some music, and it's like I almost wanted to go to my teacher and tell him like, do you really like this movie? Like, is it really a movie that you're supposed to like, or is it just a movie that you say you like just to look smart? But because there are certain movies. There are certain movies like that. It's like, oh, my favorite movie is I don't know.
I understand. Like if I, it's like whenever you run into someone that's just like, I'm trying to think of like typical film school choices. Obviously, Pulp Fiction's one, but that's just because it's a popular good movie. Well,
Pulp Fiction. Yeah. Pulp Fiction is entertaining. Though. Yeah, like it's very entertaining. So.
I'm trying to think of I know exactly what you're talking about though. It's like whenever someone says it, you're like, do you really like that movie?
Like, especially, no, I got one. If I meet anyone, especially someone my age, who's like, oh, my favorite movie is a French New Wave movie, I'm like, no, it's fucking not. It's don't come to me and tell me that your favorite movie is a new French Wave movie, because like. I'm sorry. I feel like most French New Wave, at least the one that I've seen, like, while they were interesting, there was a lot of very interesting and sometimes groundbreaking things. Like, they were still kind of boring. Like, especially thinking about, especially thinking about 400 Blows and Breathless, which are like some of the biggest ones. 400 Blows was pretty good though.
I thought, okay. My whole thing on it is like, 400 Blows was pretty decent. I thought it was kind of boring throughout, though. I still haven't seen the entire thing, but I like what I've seen of Breathless. I think there's a lot to be seen in the French New Wave, but it's definitely not one of those film waves where it's like, oh, we're hitting jams every single film. It's like, no. There's really terribly boring moments.
I mean, I've said before that like my favorite French New Wave director is Agnès Varda, and that's not even because of her French New Wave movies. It's because of her documentaries.
I love Varda. She's amazing.
Yeah, she is. But I'd say, I honestly think one of my favorite French New Wave movies that I've seen was a film called La Jetée with Chris Marker.
I love that one.
Which is the only French New Wave movies that I've been like, oh shit, hold on, that's really good. Damn.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
If anyone's
crazy.
interested, it's 30 minutes long and it's on the Criterion Channel, and it's this kind of like experimental movie only told through like photos. Um, that I thought was honestly very good.
Yeah, it's it's wild.
Yeah. Plus, it's like
Um,
also it's a sci-fi movie, which is pretty weird for that time.
yeah.
Um,
That time and
yeah,
that
but
place especially is like you don't see many sci-fi stuff coming out of there.
yeah, I will say like French genre movies in the '60s is a underrated movie genre. Like, well, the only one that I've seen besides La Jetée was Eyes Without a Face,
Hmm.
which I really like. There's also another movie called Diabolique, which I haven't seen, but I've been planning on watching it for a while now. Um, and yeah, so a lot of those films seemed like pretty damn cool.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to think of other, I guess, specific notes I had for It's a Wonderful Life. But I guess, yeah, the main thing I had noticed this time around was just, I guess, how warm it all is. And I believe Frank Capra, the director, is
Yeah.
even quoted as saying that this is his favorite thing he ever made. Uh, which I don't know.
I get that.
I can see that. Yeah, it's a really it's a the I get the word a lot of people I guess would use nowadays is like life affirming. Like I feel good about life
Yeah.
after watching a movie
Yeah.
like this.
Right. Um. Well, I guess one of the only things I have to say is about the character of Mr. Potter, which I think is surprisingly relevant today.
Yeah.
And it's weird because in a way, like that character is just Ebenezer Scrooge, who never met the ghosts.
Yeah.
Like,
He's
which is actually that's something that I wanted to say earlier. Like, it's weird how It's a Wonderful Life basically is Christmas Carol, where the ghost went to see like the nice guy instead of going to see Ebenezer Scrooge.
yeah.
In a way. um, but yeah, I mean, he's Mr. Potter is Ebenezer Scrooge, but he's also like I don't know, fucking Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or whatever.
it's it's like Potter was definitely he definitely is like written as like this catch-all like bad guy. Like it's almost it hinges on being
Yeah.
unrealistic, but just keeps enough of that realism in there to where it's like, yeah, this person could exist. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but now it's no longer a question of
100%.
like, now it's no longer a question of like, does this person exist? It's like, yeah, this person exists.
Yeah.
Yeah, this person exists, and they're the most powerful people in the world, and that I guess that
Oh,
even
yeah.
rings true for back then, and I guess the entire message of the movie is still like even though
Yeah.
George Bailey doesn't exactly even win any kind of long battle in the end, he wins that one
Yeah.
moment, like
Mm-hmm.
8,000. All that's happened is like he wins the 8,000 and he's allowed to just go back to living. Obviously, it's like the whole community's behind him, but Mr. Potter's still like stupid rich.
Yeah.
He still like has
He's
a
still
stranglehold on the entire excuse me, on like the entire town. So it's like,
Yeah.
he doesn't exactly win, but he's found love and strength from everyone around him, which is why I guess it's why the ending
Yeah.
just feels so real and just feels so heartfelt. It's because
Mm-hmm.
you don't really have to trump up anything to make it mean more.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's another thing too that I didn't expect is I didn't think it would be like I don't know a Christmas movie like with showing that much of like the religious side of Christmas, with the angels and everything. But and honestly, like, I mean, without like without going into like a debate about religion, because fuck that. Not on the Christmas episode, please. But like, I'm not a religious person, and sometimes when I see like very religious movies, I'm kind of like not that into it. But this one was just like, it's religious in the sense of like, be a good person and don't be a dick like Mr. Potter, which is, yeah, I respect that.
Yeah, I'm not a particularly religious person either. But it's like whenever I see movies or like media like this that doesn't, I guess, I don't know how to describe it. It's definitely a conversation that I would need to like prepare more, but it's like I see all these movies a lot that like God's Not Dead, that like hammer in the idea. It's like Christianity good. And you don't need to hammer that in.
Yeah.
You don't need to hammer that message in.
No.
With stuff like It's a Wonderful Life, or even some like, I don't know, some music out there, you get this this feeling of like, it's like, this is a good thing that helps a lot of people and means a lot. And in those moments, I'm like, you know what, it's like that. I used to be one of those, like, back when I was younger and I was like getting into like, just kind of like, it was when I started to kind of question the faith that I was brought up in. And I was just like, back then it was a lot of ideas. It was a lot of ideas of like, oh, it just doesn't make any sense. How's any of this real? But now I guess my thought is more of just like, it's not the kind of thing that I particularly believe in, but I understand it now. Like I get why people do it, and I think it's a thing that can be conveyed especially well through media.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like you said, It's a Wonderful Life does a good job of that.
Yeah, and I mean, I think your comparison with music is pretty good, because like, the example that I think of is Hallelujah, which is both obviously like kind of a Christmas song, but also a religious song, but it's more than just like it's more than that, honestly.
Right.
But yeah, so that's it for our religious conversation. Let's get as far away from that as possible now.
Yes. But, I guess for It's a Wonderful Life, I don't have a whole lot more to say, really. It's not really a movie like that bears a whole lot of in-depth discussion, but I think I just think it's a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good time. Aged surprisingly well. Still a good, even 75 years later, still a really fun time, really funny, really pretty emotional. I'll be honest, I don't know about you, but like, I teared up at the end.
Oh, I always do. I don't even know what it is. Like, it's because I've seen it so many times, but like, even at the end, I just get a feeling like, man.
You know what that's like?
What?
It's like that show on HGTV where like some people have like financial issues and issues with their house, and all the community, all the town people in the town gather up to help them with like renovating their house. It's the same exact thing. It's that feeling of like, fuck, man, he's such a nice guy, and he's had it so hard his entire life, and now like people are finally like showing their gratitude to how nice he was to them.
Yeah. It's just an extremely nice moment, and it makes me think about all the positive things that we have in our lives. So yeah, it's a good movie, and it's a good Christmas movie especially.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess that's it for our It's a Wonderful Life discussion.
I guess so.
But I guess other things on the agenda to talk about. There was a pretty big film release this past week.
Yep.
And
should we just already go in that?
I don't see any reason not to.
I'm fucking down for that. Let's do this.
All right, let's go. So
yeah, arguably the biggest film of the entire year came out this week, and it is obviously Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yep.
So all right, well, just before we start, obviously, if you haven't seen the film and you don't want to be spoiled, like, we are going to talk about spoilers because it's impossible not to. So just go watch the film.
We're definitely going to talk about spoilers.
Yeah. So before we actually end up talking about it, I just want to say that, like, personally, I am a massive Spider-Man fan, and I've been my entire life. I grew up watching the Sam Raimi movies, and even though I do agree that they're not as good as the Sam Raimi movies, I think the Amazing Spider-Man movies are still a really fun time, and honestly, there's, especially the first one, pretty good in my opinion.
Yeah. Just like you, I grew up a massive Spider-Man fan. As a kid, I would read the comics. I'd play the games. I loved the Sam Raimi movies. I actually kind of did not like the Amazing Spider-Man movies at all.
Sure.
And when the MCU Spider-Man came around, I was very, very excited to see how it would go. And
yeah,
I like the MCU Spider-Man movies. Like, I like Homecoming. I thought Far From Home was okay. Like, I've seen it a couple times now, and I didn't think it was like all that great. But
yeah,
I guess that's more of a reason to be especially impressed when I say that No Way Home is amazing.
Yeah, and well, for the new movies, I've been a pretty big fan of Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I think he does a really good job, and I really like the changes that, like, they've made to the comics to include Spider-Man into the MCU, and I think especially the way that they handle his relationship with MJ was, like, really good, and I think better than the other movies. I believe in the relationship more than with Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield.
Oh, definitely. Well, because for them, I guess it was a necessity in the story that they felt they needed to kind of hammer in through the first movie. But they don't even get together until, like, near the end of Far From Home, which is still crazy.
Well, yeah, what's fun... No, what's even more funny is that, like, the MJ isn't even the love interest in Homecoming. It's like this this Liz character that's just, what is she doing here? Why is she here? And I think the writers kind of thought, like, between the first two films, like, why is she here? Why did we create her? Let's get her out of here. So she's not even mentioned in any of the other movies. And now the love interest, very logically, is MJ, played by Zendaya. And yeah. So, No Way Home. What did you think?
Oh, I thought it was great.
All right. Me too.
I don't have this experience often, but it was a moment that I felt such, I guess, nostalgia of, like, man, it feels like I'm a kid again watching this crazy stuff going on. And I miss being able to, like, have that crazy feeling during superhero movies like this. But, you know, I'll talk more about that once we get into, like, the big bombshell spoilers.
Right. Well, so
but what did you think?
It's probably my favorite MCU movie now.
Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh. Which is weird because, like, Shang-Chi was already, like, it already had become one of my favorite of the MCU, and I didn't think we'd get anything better this year, but no, turns out got the best one in my opinion. But yeah, it's just so much fun, and I'm sure definitely part of the reason why I liked it so much is because of fan service reasons, which is like,
Of course.
no
I
shit.
Yeah, I don't think it's the best MCU movie. I think that still is very solidly Infinity War, but it might be a close second.
Yeah.
Depends on how much it grows on me in the future.
Right. Well, something that I'll say that definitely influenced like my opinion of the movie was that I saw the film on opening night in a
Same
movie in a pretty big theater, like 200 something people,
Yeah.
and it was full,
Mhm.
and it was obviously just a bunch of people like me and my brothers who I went with, just a bunch of people that are massive fans of Spider-Man and were really excited to see this movie, which ended up with me having maybe my favorite movie theater experience of all time.
Wow, really?
Because like, see, all right. Usually, I'm not that big of a fan when people are like very loud.
No,
Uh,
no.
in which with maybe the exception of laughs, because
Well, like it's yeah, it depends on the movie. Like if I'm seeing French Dispatch and people are like cheering every
yeah,
time a character shows up, I'd be like, shut up. But this is different. This is like
yeah,
this is
this is
Spider-Man.
different, yeah.
This is big.
And so, all right, can we just already get into spoilers now?
Whatever. Yeah, just go ahead.
Sure. All right. So the scene when Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire showed up,
Ooh.
he. So all right, the way this happened in the theater was you had Ned that was like casting the portal, and we saw like Peter in the dark alley, and everyone started to like. There started to be this small sound of like people whispering like, oh, like people being like, oh shit, this is gonna happen, and then he showed up, took off his mask, and was Andrew Garfield, and everyone went, yo, and everyone started clapping, and it was like. And I was screaming. And it was like, I don't know, it was, I don't even know how to explain it. It was like such a cool experience. And then same thing happened even louder when Toby showed up.
Oh my god, yeah, everybody flipped their minds when Toby showed up.
Oh my fucking god.
The best part, my experience in that specific scene was everybody was just silent. Like I don't think anybody saw it coming. But as soon as like Peter kind of like looked, or as soon as Andrew Garfield Spider-Man looked around all weird, I'm like, oh shit, that's not their Peter. And then I just see him running in. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. But like the first like kind of big reaction that was in the movie was when at the very beginning when Daredevil showed up.
Oh yeah, that was huge.
Where people were like, it wasn't like people cheering and clapping. It was more like just a massive gasp around like the whole theater.
Which that was already leaked. Like we already kind of knew that was gonna happen.
Well,
but like I think I still
the thing is we knew that. We knew that Daredevil was going to show up at some point in the MCU. We just didn't know. Well, we also knew that it was going to be the same guy as the Netflix show.
Well,
we just didn't know that it was going to be in this movie.
Well, a couple weeks ago.
That's what I saw.
Some screenshots did leak where it was like Charlie Cox sitting at the table with all of them, shot from the actual movie. So everyone was like,
really?
Oh. And then, yeah, it did. And then Kevin Feige went on an interview and he's like, I'm not saying that Charlie Cox would ever, or he's not saying, he's like, I don't know when Daredevil's gonna come back, but if and when he did, it would be Charlie Cox playing him. And then obviously a week later this happens. Everyone's like, yeah, okay, shut up.
Right.
But yeah, I thought that one was great.
That was really cool.
Mm-hmm. I guess other cheering moments obviously were like when Alfred Molina's Doc Ock came up, Green Goblin came up. Basically, when
Yeah.
all the villains showed up again, which
Yeah,
might I
basically.
say, might I say, all of their introductions were done masterfully. Loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Because we
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
even see Willem's face during the Green Goblin introduction. We just
No.
see we see him like about to emerge from the clouds. We hear that iconic laugh, and then it's immediately back to Doctor Strange's.
Yeah.
But oh my god,
Mm-hmm.
I love that scene so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I loved shoot, I'm trying to think of like the other big thing that or some other big things. Like obviously Electro's thing was awesome. I love Jamie Foxx in this movie, can I
Oh
just
yeah.
say? I thought
Mm-hmm.
he was
It
awful
was
in
yeah.
Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
bad.
He was definitely so much better in this one.
Oh yeah, but this one was incredible. I loved how
Yeah.
I loved the chemistry he had with the other bad guys. I loved his one-liners. It was so fun.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which also, might I say, the chemistry between Toby, Andrew, and Tom Holland it was just
Yeah.
it was like unbelievable. Like they were
It
so
was
much
on
fun.
point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like my friend my friend leaned over to me while we were watching the movie. He went, "I would just watch 2 hours of this."
Oh
Like,
yeah.
it was when,
Oh
it
yeah.
was
Me
when they
too.
were,
Definitely.
It was when they were like bantering on the like the scaffolding, and it was like
Yeah.
so do you make your own webs?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
Which like, cause like I went to see this with my brothers, and my older brother is like a massive Spider-Man fan, and like
Mm-hmm.
he's way into like the comics as well, and he knows like he's the kind of person like he's gonna gasp at stuff that like I don't understand because it's weird random references,
Yeah.
and like we were talking before we went to see the movie like about sort of our expectations, and we talked about do you think that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are going to show up? And he was very he really put a lot of like importance to like if they are in the movie, they have to talk about how Toby is the only one who can produce his own webs. Because when it is weird.
It is a
like,
bit weird, yeah. It was.
Like,
It was
where does
really,
it come from?
I loved both of their reactions to that, to Toby's whole thing. Like they just looked like, what was that?
Does it just come from your wrist, or does it come from elsewhere?
He was like, they were like, how do you do it? And he was like, well, how do you breathe? What kind of question is that? There was like I guess on the topic of like in terms of like massive fans or not massive fans, I saw it with like a big group of people, including my friend Liz, who I see most MCU stuff with. She does not know much outside of like just the basic movies. Like she doesn't know like I guess the Netflix stuff, which I don't really know either. I just kind of know it exists, like the old Netflix series, the stuff on Disney Plus, even like just comic stuff. So we were watching the movie, and people obviously cheered when Charlie Cox showed up, and she was just looking around, and I just like leaned over and I just went, Daredevil. And she was like, oh,
right. Yeah.
It was the same thing with like obviously she knew all the villains and such, but like it was, I can't remember, there was one other instance of it, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, I obviously like I'm trying to think of like other great villain moments. Thomas Hayden Church as Sandman was really funny, mainly because like his introduction is so much different than any of the other villains.
Yeah.
Because he just shows up like when Electro is like, hey Peter, it's me, it's me, Flint.
Remember me, the guy
Yeah.
that does the sand.
It's me, the guy who does the sand. And it's like, oh yeah. So
It was like, I will say there's like I feel like compared to the other villains, he didn't really like fit in as much because like they were all about to die. Like that's the whole thing is when they were
Hmm.
transported to the universe, they were all about to die except for Sandman, who like was just
I guess
kind of like a free man with superpowers. Not
the
free,
main
but
the main thing with Sandman, which is why I think he was included, was because like yeah, he was free, but Spider-Man didn't save him like he wanted to. Like he wanted to cure him of his sand ailment.
yeah.
But in this one, he finally did get to cure him, which was a nice moment.
But yeah. But my big thing too is like I feel like compared to the other villains, he doesn't really have like good motivations to actually be a villain and do the stuff that he
No,
does.
he doesn't.
Yeah, which
And
is
obviously, Doc
yeah.
Ock saving the day was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Which that brings
Yeah.
me to another thing that really stuck out to me in this one was the absolute brutality of the fights between MCU Peter and Willem Dafoe Goblin. Like
Oh yeah.
it's some hard stuff, man. Like obviously the
Yeah.
apartment fight is like it's pretty standard MCU fight, but when like after May dies, after all of like the crazy stuff on the Statue of Liberty, when it's just those two, Peter nearly beats him to death
Yeah.
until
Oh yeah.
Tobey Maguire shows up, which we have not seen like that level of like hatred from MCU Peter even remotely before this point. And that,
Yeah. And I
oh
mean,
my god, that was such a moment of like, oh my god.
yeah, and I mean MCU Peter, but also just like MCU heroes in general.
That's true. Not a
Like
lot of them are very
besides
like
like
hateful.
yeah, besides like Punisher, because like
Oh
of course
yeah.
he's gonna beat up people to death. That's his thing. But like I don't know, Iron Man, Thor, especially Captain America, like would have never not done that.
No, it's like
And I think
never did any of the big players have moments like that where they
yeah,
nearly beat a man to death. Seriously.
and I think that it works for Spider-Man because Spider-Man is like, you know, that's something that I like to say is like Spider-Man has won the superpower lottery because like he's got all the really cool superpowers, and one of them that's really important, but I feel like especially the movies don't mention enough is that one of his powers is super strength. Like
Yeah.
he's really really fucking strong, and he's got all this like massive strength, but he's also like he's a kid.
Yeah.
Like he's about to go to college, and so of course like that's something that's really interesting, that like he doesn't have the maturity that Thor or Captain America have,
No. Which
which I think is a
I
great part of his personality that I really like.
I saw a thing recently right I think one of my friends said this is about something they saw online that someone said like the MCU like first 3 Spider-Man movies is like an origin story for like a basically just expanded origin story for Peter. Uh because like it's obviously we have the ending, which we can discuss if you want to, which is, basically there's, Doctor Strange has a box that will send all of them back to their regular universes, but Green Goblin blows it up, so they can't do that. And just at the last minute, everybody is like coming through like a tear in space time. Everybody who knows Peter Parker, including like we see outlines of like Rhino, we see Craven, and it's like, oh no. And then like Peter's just like, well, how about you do that spell that we tried to do earlier, which is what started the whole multiverse thing. It was like, well, how about we do that spell, but instead of like forgetting that I'm Spider-Man, what if we just have everybody forget who I am anyway? Yeah, and
Yeah.
and so obviously after a minute, it's like that happens, and everybody forgets who Peter Parker is. And obviously, while the whole multiverse thing is fixed, nobody remembers who he is. So he moves into a downtown apartment, and starts his life again, and finishes out the movie wearing for the first time in the entire trilogy, wearing like a nearly comic accurate suit. Because like the first suit he has is like, it's comic accurate, but it has like all the Stark technology and everything. But like this one, we see that he makes it literally from like a sewing machine, which I thought was super cool to see.
Yeah, and it's
so it's like we're finally getting into friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yeah, and like the thing that I noticed the most about the suit is like the colors. Like it's got this like vibrant blue, and it's just it's might not have all the cool gadgets that his previous suit had, but it's like in terms of how it looks, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's like the original, or like the original MCU costume. It's solid colors. It's very obviously just it's very obviously just that color. But this color, like this suit, shines like the blue. Like when the light hits it, it shines, and it's it just feels classic. It feels like it's like, all right, this is Spider-Man, and it's I obviously, since we now have the information that Tom Holland is still in the MCU, like he still has a few more movies contractually to do. I am really interested to see what direction they take this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the first time, I'll say this. It's the first time since the end of Infinity War that I'm like actively interested. Okay, I guess no, I'll say this. It's the first time since I saw Far From Home that I'm like actively interested to see where things are going, because honestly, after Far From Home, I kind of started to lose steam with the MCU. I didn't really care too much for like stuff like Black Widow, or just like whatever they were planning on doing during that time. I just wasn't too into it. But I'm here for this. I'm here for whatever they're doing with Spider-Man. I'm excited to see what's next. Obviously, there's Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness or whatever.
Ooh, yeah. I'm very, very excited for that.
I'm very excited for that,
Not only because it's like Doctor Strange and the multiverse and everything, it's directed by Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
Which is... Oh, and I just noticed music by Danny Elfman, just like the first Spider-Man movie.
Really? Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. And they showed like the like post-credit scene, like the second post-credit scene is literally just a trailer for the movie, which I think it's honestly a really good trailer.
Yeah, I think it's a good trailer. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to see. Because it didn't show it, but have you seen Shang-Chi? Yeah. Well, so for those who haven't seen it, the post-credit scene of Shang-Chi is Shang-Chi and Awkwafina, I forgot the name of her character, who basically like go to see the character played by Benedict Wong, who obviously is like Doctor Strange's friend, and so that basically is like, are they gonna be in Doctor Strange 2? I'd like that a lot, and that would be really cool.
I really do want to see them again. But I'm trying to think of other notable things from No Way Home to talk about, just kind of off the cuff. Speaking of after credits scene. We had the mid credits scene with Tom Hardy's Venom, who I don't did you see Let There Be Carnage?
No, I didn't see it.
So I guess to provide some context, the after credits scene of, or I guess it was the after credits scene of Let There Be Carnage, featured Tom Hardy, Eddie Brock, obviously, and the symbiote Venom, just kind of hanging out like on an island vacation during or like after their whole mess with Carnage, and it's like, and they're just hanging out in the hotel room, and then a like an obvious dimensional shift happens. And then they see Peter Parker Spider-Man on the TV, or MCU Spider-Man on the TV, and it's like, oh, what? Who's that? And then we pick up with Eddie and Venom at a bar in No Way Home. We pick up with them at a bar in a kind of tropical location where he's asking about Spider-Man, and before he's able to like go to New York and see Spider-Man, obviously that was when Doctor Strange fixed the whole dimensional thing. So Eddie Brock is sent back to his right universe, which is not the MCU. And my friends and I have been talking about this, but I think it's so funny that it was like it was a moment of like, oh, he's in the MCU, kinda.
Yeah, it's like when they show that it was him in the scene, everyone was like, yeah, they were like the other season were cheering, clapping, and then he left, and everyone was kind of like, aw, but still,
very important detail.
Yeah.
He left a symbiote there, so something's that's gotta come up.
My guess is that like Spider-Man 4, the villain is gonna be Venom, but not necessarily Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
Maybe some people are arguing that it might be Ned, but I don't think it's gonna be.
Well, here's another theory I heard. So
yeah, I know where you're going with that.
So another theory I heard was that Ned is going to become the Hobgoblin, which was another Spider-Man villain, and initially that was what my dad thought was going to happen, because we were talking about it the other day. He's like, oh, I thought he was gonna pick up one of the Goblin bombs and become Hobgoblin, because there's the whole thing where it's like where Tobey Maguire Peter brings up, is like, oh yeah, my best friend died after he tried to kill me, and so that gets Ned all worried. He's like, oh, I'm not gonna kill you, Peter, but that's obviously that's not like out of the realm of possibility now, because Ned doesn't know who Peter is anymore. So
yeah,
what if? And obviously they set him up with like the fact that he, is sensitive to Doctor Strange's magic, which, I mean, would he have forgotten about that, or would he have just forgotten about the fact that Peter was in the situation at all?
I don't know.
I guess that was something I thought about after the movie.
Yeah, I wonder.
So I think it would be an interesting thing to do if he were to come back as a villain. But then again, who knows? I just want to see where they go with it.
Well, my theory for how they're gonna handle like the Ned and MJ thing is like, at the end, right before like they forget about Peter, MJ says like, I'm gonna come to see me, or because if you don't, I'm just gonna figure it out. And I'm pretty sure that that's gonna happen. Like in one way or another, they're gonna figure out that like something's wrong, and then they're gonna, not necessarily that like MJ's gonna figure out the whole thing, but Peter is gonna try to like get in contact with them and try to make them like remember. I'm pretty sure this is what's gonna happen, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with
that. Which honestly like makes sense, because it would be weird to have like 3 more Spider-Man movies, but without Ned and MJ, because they're very important characters for the movies.
Yeah. That was kind of, I think that might be all I have to say about about the movie for now, but I really enjoyed it, and I had just a great time.
Yeah. Um, One really cool moment that I like that we didn't mention yet is when Andrew Garfield saves MJ.
Oh yeah! Oh my God, that was
Which is
such a nice
something, yeah.
moment.
Which, for those who haven't seen Amazing Spider-Man 2, at the end of the movie, Gwen falls and Peter tries to save her and fails, and she ends up dying. And basically, in No Way Home, at the end, the same thing happens, except it's with MJ, and Tom Holland jumps out to try and save her, but it's he ends up like being like hit by the Green Goblin, and
Yeah,
Andrew Garfield tries to save her, and he ends up saving her, and he kind of starts crying, and
yeah.
oh my fucking god, that was such a good scene.
It was a really nice moment because it's like it's
Yeah.
it's obviously never gonna happen. We're not really gonna see. I don't think we're gonna get any more. There's this whole thing that was going on Twitter just today. That was like people were like, oh, make Amazing Spider-Man 3. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna
No,
happen.
it's not.
Nor do
It
I
is
think
not
it
gonna
should
happen.
happen. I think we're fine here.
Yeah.
Mainly because I think they got the ending that they deserved. Like,
Yeah.
especially Andrew Garfield, because like
Mm-hmm.
he finally was able to save someone. He was he finally had, I guess, because I'll be honest, like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man is like really kind of alone throughout all of his movies. Like he
Yeah.
really only has like Gwen. But in
Mhm.
this one, like he says, he was like I always wanted to have like brothers. It's such a
Yeah.
sweet. Like when they all three hugged. Oh my God, it was so nice.
That was nice. Yeah.
It
Um.
was had me smiling like an idiot when I was in the theater.
Yeah. And speaking of sequels, I was thinking about that like even months ago, because I heard that like there was supposed to be a Spider-Man 4 with Tobey Maguire, and there's even a like it was supposed to come out in like 2011 or 2012, something like that. And there's a video that you can find of an interview with Tobey Maguire where he talks about that, and he talks about how excited he is about the movie 2 days before it was canceled.
Aww.
So like that kind of sucks. But thinking about it, like, did we really need a Spider-Man 4?
We didn't. I think.
Yeah,
See,
I don't think so.
here is why I think No Way Home is such a great moment for the entire for the entire like Spider-Man cinematic universe, I guess to say.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's such a great moment because it brings out the best in every single like different Spider-Man trilogy or different Spider-Man series. It just makes it all feel complete, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, in the way that Infinity War was a bookend for everything that they've been doing there, this is like the ending that the original Spider-Man trilogy, the Amazing Spider-Man trilogy. It's like the ending that those never really had, and I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, there's also a big scene that we didn't mention, which is the fight scene between Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, which
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think it's funny how like every time I've talked about the movie, it was always like a scene. I feel like it's always a scene that people forget to mention, which is like if it was in any other MCU movie, it would be like the scene that everyone talks about. But Spider-Man No Way Home has so many like crazy scenes that like people almost forget to talk about that one.
Yeah.
Oh, and also like almost right before we started recording, I was watching a review of the movie by the YouTuber Shave Frillis Production, and he pointed out something that I hadn't noticed, but I think is very weird and kind of funny in a way. Is just how little screen time the lizard has.
Yeah.
Like, for example, like when the first time we see him, he's already been captured by Doctor Strange. Like he did that off screen, and then the whole scene when they're in the apartment trying to fix them, like he just decides to stay in the car, which is like he doesn't have screen time. Not in the way that like, oh, his character wasn't really useful. It's almost more in the way that like it feels like the writers or producers or whatever didn't want the lizard to be in the movie, which I think is really weird.
I think it's more a situation of like they were fine with him being in the movie. They just didn't really know what to do with him.
Well, I mean, to be honest, like he really was by far the villain that I cared the least about.
Oh yeah, definitely. Which I mean, I guess it's good then that he didn't have much screen time because then we got to focus on the ones that were good.
Yeah, because like I'm also surprised how like I thought that Doc Ock would be the main villain instead of the Green Goblin, and I thought that the Green Goblin would have like less screen time. I do appreciate that they, especially at the beginning, it was more focused on Norman Osborn than the Green Goblin, which is I saw some people talking about that on Twitter. It's great that we got to see so much of the Green Goblin like without the suit, or at least without the mask, just we could see as much as Willem Dafoe as possible.
Yeah. Which how cool is it, by the way, that we started this entire Spider-Man like cinematic world with Green Goblin being the bad guy, and now we've come to not an ending, but definitely an important moment where he was the villain again. I just think it's such a moment of like full circle. We've come full circle after all this time. After 8 movies.
It's so great because like that's one of the things that I've liked the most about this movie coming out is I've seen so much like appreciation and love for Willem Dafoe, like more than I've ever seen before, which I just love Willem Dafoe so much.
He deserves all of it. I love him. I joked with my friends after the movie. I was like, I think this movie had I was like, one of the best things about this movie is that Peter's goal was very, very believable, because I too want to do everything in my power to make sure that Willem Dafoe doesn't die.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
He's one of those celebrities that I wish would just remain eternal, because he's just amazing.
Yeah, because it's like you see him in movies, like the main one I'm thinking about is The Lighthouse, where he was like perfect in it, and you just think like, oh yeah, he's a fantastic actor, and then you see him like in interviews and stuff like that, and he's just like so funny, and he just seems so nice. Like it's just like I love him so much.
Yeah.
I feel like I had something. Yeah, something that I particularly like about like him being in Spider-Man is how like how much respect he has for the role, and how much he like, you know, especially in the first Spider-Man movie, like he wanted to do as many stunts as possible, and you know, like. He ended up doing quite a lot of stunts, and for this one, he wanted to, obviously he couldn't do as much in terms of stunts because he is like in his 60s. But he said that like, if I'm gonna be in the movie, I want my character to be like important to the story. I just want to be a cameo, and I mean at the end, like he ended up being so much more than just a cameo. He ended up being like pretty much the most important character besides Spider-Man.
Yeah, like he really was instrumental to just everything in the movie.
Yeah,
I loved it. Loved it.
Also, can we I just want to small tangent just to talk about his range as an actor, because like in most of his movies, he's just like the creepy dude, especially obviously like in Spider-Man, but like The Lighthouse again, and the Grand Budapest Hotel as well. When even though he has a small role, he's kind of like the weird, creepy guy. But there's also his role in the Florida Project, where he just plays the most like loving and lovable and nice guy you could see in a movie. And like, yeah, no, it's I feel like he could play anything at this point.
I especially like I recently remembered that this was a thing. He's the detective in the movie American Psycho. And he does such a good job because, I mean, I'm sure you've heard of the big thing with his scenes in American Psycho, to where every Willem Dafoe scene was shot 3 times, or it was shot at a minimum of 3 times, to where the level of how much he knew changes, to where it's like the first scene was shot where he believes that Patrick Bateman is innocent. The second one was shot where he doesn't really know, but he's kind of suspicious. And the third one was shot with him definitely knowing that he was suspicious, or that he was like a murderer, which they used to cut between and to make the movie just even more like muddy and crazy. And it just in every one of those, like there's videos out there that like show which scene is which, or like which cut is which, and it is so fascinating because Willem Dafoe plays every single one of those moods incredibly.
Yeah.
So that's another one of my favorite Willem Dafoe roles ever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he does have some insane range.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And obviously his Wes Anderson roles are great too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think his best one is in Life Aquatic.
I would agree.
Yeah. I don't remember who he plays in Fantastic Mr. Fox.
He plays the rat. Like
yeah, he does play the rat. Yeah, that was good.
Which is another good creepy role from Willem Dafoe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's kind of it for No Way Home. I don't know if you got anything else to say. Yeah. I mean, we've been talking about this movie for almost as long as It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, you're right. Trying to think of other topics, I guess, to touch on.
Well, have you seen any movies since the last episode?
Let me take a quick look. How about you?
I've actually seen a lot of movies.
Oh, really? I guess I'll get mine out of the way since I only saw a couple.
Mm-hmm.
I did a double feature with my friends where I watched both Jingle All the Way movies, which obviously the first one,
all right,
classic with Arnold Schwarzenegger, with some of his greatest moments ever. I think is a really fun movie. The second one is Jingle All the Way 2 with Larry the Cable Guy that came out a few years ago, and it's awful, obviously.
Yeah, of course it is.
But that's kind of all I saw. I also watched. I forgot to mention this last episode, but I watched a movie with Ethan Hawke called Gattaca, which is a pretty fun little sci-fi movie from the 90s.
Yeah.
So yeah, I liked that one quite a bit. That was my movie watching last week. So how about you? What did you watch?
Also, for me, I did the first part of a challenge that I mentioned last week, which is trying to watch every single Blu-ray that I own that I haven't seen yet.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. That was 10 movies. I did the first half where I watched Dracula by Francis Ford Coppola, Dune by David Lynch, Eighth Grade by Bo Burnham, Eyes Wide Shut by Stanley Kubrick, and The Fisher King by Terry Gilliam. So I'll just kind of go through them quickly just to give my opinion. Dracula was sadly was a disappointment because I thought it was really boring.
Oh.
Yeah, like I don't know, the first half was fine, but the second half, like I hate to say it, but I was happy when it was done because like, oh my god, finally it's over.
I get it. Yeah, I've had movies like that.
But it's a shame because when you watch a movie directed by the guy who made The Godfather and Apocalypse Now, you don't expect that. But and also, Keanu Reeves is like not that good in this movie. He's got, and also like his character is British, so he's got this British accent which really isn't that convincing. And especially like yeah, and especially for a couple of scenes, like he almost sounds like when he's talking he's reading his lines instead of acting them, which is honestly, I like at the beginning I was kind of like, wait, Keanu Reeves is a good actor, right? And then I remembered The Matrix and obviously John Wick, and I was like, oh yeah, right. He's a great actor. Yeah, he's just not good in this one.
See, that's the thing with Keanu that I think is worth mentioning is like, I don't think Keanu Reeves is particularly an amazing actor or anything. I just think he's I just think when he fits a role, he fits it and can do it really well.
Oh yeah,
like especially John Wick. But like, you know, when it comes to like some of his other acting stuff, it can be a bit iffy. But that's not to say he isn't a good actor, because he is.
Yeah.
But yeah. So what was the next one?
Then it was Dune by David Lynch, which I've been really excited to see because like obviously I saw the new one back in October, and I started to read through like the book, and so I was really curious to see especially see the comparison between Denis Villeneuve's movie and David Lynch's movie. They are like two different things completely.
I've seen clips from Lynch's recently, and it was something else.
Like, I will say, like, the special effects did not age well at all.
No,
they are like, especially,
I don't know what the term for it was, and I don't remember what the term for it was in the story, but it was like that weird like combat thing they have where like they don't get hit immediately. Or whatever.
The suit.
The suit.
It's horrible.
Like in Villeneuve's version, like it makes sense. It's a very like it's a good special effect, but in David Lynch's, it looks like Minecraft blocks, and I thought it was really funny.
No, not even Minecraft. Roblox.
It does look like Roblox.
It does. You know, the worst part is like it took them like months to make this scene.
Oh,
because I was thinking
did.
Why is it that the armor is only in this scene and never comes back, while in the new movie? Yeah, because it's literally only in this scene. While in the Denis Villeneuve movie, it's like it appears a few times. And the answer to that is they made one scene with it, and it took them like 10 months to make, and it looked like shit.
That's really
because they were like, because the way they did it, I saw a video by the guys that make the like VFX artists react videos. And a corridor crew, and they explained that the way they did it is they almost like drew on the film.
They would have to, that makes sense.
Yeah, because like CGI like wasn't a thing back then.
Yeah, well, it's like what
this is
it's like what Obayashi did with a House. is with all the visual effects were just drawn on
Yeah.
drawn on the
Yeah.
film.
Uh-huh. Cuz like, this is 1984.
Yeah.
There was one scene in particular that I thought was really weird. It's when they get to the desert after like the attack on the I forgot what they're called, but the planet that Paul is from. The attack on their like the Duke and everything. He and his mom go to the desert, and they do like a certain walk that is like without a kind of like random, just so that the sandworm doesn't notice them. And he's like, "All right, mom, you gotta walk out of sync, so they don't get noticed." And then they just walk completely normally without doing anything. It's like, what?
Really
like
funny.
the new movie made like a whole choreography for that.
Yeah, like they're like it's like the Sam dance or whatever. They're like very cautious.
Yeah, it's a dance. They're just straight up walking.
That's
It's like,
actually
what
incredible.
are you doing?
That's hilarious.
But besides that, like that was kind of the stupid things. But besides that, the first part. So basically, the first part is like exactly what happens in the first Dune, and then the second part is what will happen in the sequel. So I for the first part, I knew what was happening, and I kind of knew everything. So it was interesting, but it was a bit boring because it was like rewatching a different version of a film that I saw recently. And then there was the second part, which was like I didn't know what was happening, and I didn't know what would happen next. So that was a lot more entertaining, and a lot more like, I don't know. I got way into it.
Really? Okay.
Like the second part is really good. And it's like the rating it has on Letterboxd is 2.8 out of 5, which is like, it's definitely not David Lynch's best movie, but it's not worth only that.
Yeah.
Like
I get what you're saying.
It's better than that. But yeah, that was a very interesting experience. I definitely prefer the new version, but that was still good. Yeah. And then I saw 8th Grade, which I thought of maybe watching earlier for back when we did the Inside episode, but I ended up not doing that. And so I will say, as someone who is the same age as what's her name? Elsie Fisher.
Yeah.
Yeah. For someone who's the same age as her and who, just like her, like did not like, well, she was in middle school, but like, I got the same experience in high school as well. Like, this movie is not it was surprisingly hard to watch for me, just because I was cringing so much. It was like,
it's so it's so unbelievably accurate with literally everything.
Well, that's the thing.
I can remember. It's just like it's accurate to the point where it's uncomfortable.
Because when you say like I saw a movie and I was cringing throughout the entire thing, you'd expect like, oh, that was a bad movie. But no, that's the entire point. And like, it's supposed to be realistic, and because it was realistic, it was cringy. Because school is fucking cringy as fuck.
Yeah, middle school sucks. Middle school sucks. Yeah. High school sucks. It's just it's such a weird, like, cringy environment that it's nothing else can even compare to.
It's a moment in life where like everyone's trying to be like popular, but the popular people have like fake personalities, and the reason why, like, in my opinion, the reason why some people fail to be popular is because they failed to hide their actual personality, which is but and I also relate a lot to Kayla in the movie, which is like, because I was a weird kid. I sat at the table of the weird kids that watched anime. Like that was me in high school, and but I will say though the difference is that I never really cared that much to be like popular,
Yeah,
and
it
I
was
saw
it was the same here.
yeah, I saw the popular kids and I was like, fuck off.
It
But
was see that's like the funny thing in my experience.
yeah,
Like we had popular kids, kinda. It was like my school was
well,
one of
yeah,
those things where it
yeah,
was like, yeah, like obviously like when you think like American high school, it's like there's a lot of archetypes. There's like
yeah.
like the popular kids, the nerd kids, the jocks, and we had those, but nobody really cared. It was like there was still moments where it was like
yeah,
there was just it kind of felt like life does now, where it's just you have people that you think are you're like, oh, those people are cool to hang out with, those people are all right, that guy's an asshole, that person's weird, I don't think I'm gonna hang out
yeah.
with him. It's basically the same.
Mm-hmm.
Just the only difference is that
Yeah, kind of same thing for me.
yeah, it's just the only difference now is that you know we're adults, and now it's not like a mess of people, like hormones going crazy. We're not packed together
Mm-hmm.
every day every day in the same building, so
Mm-hmm.
life just feels better now. I guess is a way to say it. uh
Yeah,
which is, yeah, high school, I don't know, it's like every person I talked to, or every person I talked to about high school, automatically agrees that like even though being an adult is like not good, some like most of the time, like working is not great. There's a lot of different worries we have. I, it's a lot better than being a kid. I think most of the time,
yeah.
especially
Mm-hmm.
being a teenager.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah, so
like being a teenager and going to high school fucking sucks.
it's not a good time.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Like I know some
think
people like I know
yeah.
some people like had a really good time in high school and had like a lot of friends and everything. That was not the case for me.
Mm.
Yeah, that's just a question of like different experiences.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think eighth grade captures that weird
yeah.
moment of high school, middle school, just perfectly. So obviously, just another
Yeah.
thing to show how talented Bo Burnham is.
Yeah. And you know what I'll say? I would like to rewatch this film in like 10 years
Oh
or
yeah, that'd
something
be
like that, like
really
in a
weird.
really long time. Cuz
That would
like
be oh
yeah, cuz like right, you say like we're adults and everything, but we're still like kind of just out
yeah,
of high school. We like you know, I
we're
graduated
we're
from high
just
school at the
becoming.
beginning of the pandemic.
Is the same here. It's
Yeah.
we're just coming out into you know we're just coming out into being adults pretty much still.
Yeah.
So it'll be really
But
weird to
like in
see it when we're 10 years down the line.
yeah, like in 10 years I'll be nearly 30, so I guess that'll be a different experience. And so I'm curious to see like if I'll cringe as much or if I'm gonna have the same opinion on certain things. But yeah, that'll be
Yeah.
interesting. But that's kind of what I had to say about eighth grade. Then I saw Eyes Wide Shut by Stanley Kubrick, which is his last movie that actually came out a few months or weeks after he died.
Mm.
Um, and so it's about have you seen it?
No, I have not actually.
All right. Well, I will say it's obviously it's a good movie because like it's Stanley Kubrick,
Yeah.
but it is kind of a bit of a weird movie to end his career in the sense of like it's not. I don't know. It's far from being like his magnum opus, and it's not.
Yeah, it's just it always is a weird
It's
note to end on, isn't it?
well, yeah. I mean, obviously he didn't. Obviously he didn't make this movie thinking that it was going to be his last one, but especially since he had planned to make after that to make AI, which ended up being made by Steven Spielberg.
Mm.
But especially when you compare it to like 2001 or Shining. I don't think it's definitely his most interesting movie or just best in general, but still it's a fun. It's a good movie. It's 2.5 hours, but it goes by pretty quick. Quicker than Dracula.
How long was Dracula?
It was 2 hours.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, but yeah, still that was a pretty good film, and I got actually pretty into it, and I really liked I actually quite liked Tom Cruise in this one. Um but I think in terms of Stanley Kubrick, the next movie that I'm gonna watch is either gonna be A Clockwork Orange, or what I think is probably gonna be is Barry Lyndon, because I've heard so much, like I've heard so many people saying how, like, yeah, it's 3 hours, but it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, I think Clockwork will have to be mine, because that's
Yeah.
the one that everybody's talked about, and it's like, yeah, of course, I gotta watch it.
Oh yeah.
Um, have you seen Full Metal Jacket?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Okay, I was about to say that was gonna be my personal
Yeah.
recommendation for your next one. uh, but yeah,
But yeah, I've seen it earlier this year, and it was great. Um, but then the last movie that I saw for that thing was The Fisher King with by Terry Gilliam, with Robin Williams and Jeff Bridges. And I will say, like, it's kind of weird how not very famous this movie is, because it's like, I feel like it's a movie that everyone, like, if you're a fan of Robin Williams, you could definitely easily enjoy it. And it won like Golden Globes and Oscars and stuff like that. Like, I think Robin Williams won a Golden Globe for that one. But basically, it's about Jeff Bridges, who's this radio host who the kind of radio host who talks to people and, like, half gives them advice and half, like, laughs at them. And one of those guys ends up, like, going a bit crazy and doing, like, a mass shooting because of something that Jeff Bridges had said during his show.
oh.
So that whole thing made him, like, stop doing radio. And so that's the intro of the movie, and then you get a time skip 3 years later where he's just, like, miserable. He's working in a like shitty video store with his girlfriend, and he's not doing great. And he ends up meeting a homeless man, played by Robin Williams, who is kind of pretty crazy, and who believes that, like, the Holy Grail, like he believes that he's like King Arthur, and he's on a quest for the Holy Grail, and he's trying to get it, and Jeff Bridges kind of, like, tries to help him, and yeah, it's a pretty weird movie, but it's not weird in the same way that, like, Brazil is,
Right.
especially for Terry Gilliam. I will say it is really weird how, like, one man directed two movies in his career, two comedy movies about the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
That is kind of weird, but
And he must
he
must have found it just a story that was good for parodying, I guess.
Yeah, because it's a story that everyone's, like, familiar with, but the Holy Grail, like, really isn't really that much, like, the point of the film, but it's probably one of my favorite Robin Williams roles. I do prefer, like, Good Will Hunting, but there's a reason why he won a Golden Globe for that one. He's really good in it. Obviously, Jeff Bridges too is really good, and there's honestly, as I said, like, there's no reason for this film, like, to not be as famous as some of Robin Williams' other movies. Like, and I thought it was going to be because it's directed by Terry Gilliam and he makes weird movies, but it's not even that weird. Like, the only other film by him that I've seen is Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and that one was a lot more weird than The Fisher King. Yet it's a lot a lot more
Yeah,
famous.
yeah. Fear and Loathing is crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't know that was the same. Oh, okay, yeah, that does make sense.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
Um
ringing a bell now.
yeah. Um but yeah, so that's the Fisher King. It's so that's also the only criterion that I hadn't watched. And yeah, I definitely recommend it to anyone who's interested in it. And
Hmm.
so besides that, so that's it for the five movies um that I saw for that challenge. Besides that, there's one other movie that I saw this week that was to get ready for the Matrix Resurrection. I decided to watch The Matrix Reloaded because I'd already seen The Matrix before and I hadn't seen Reloaded or Revolution. So I
Right.
Reloaded was on Netflix, so I decided to watch it. And I have to say, I don't really understand why it's got like people hate it. Because it's honestly, obviously not as good as the first one, but it's really fun.
Hmm. Yeah,
Like,
I haven't seen the
yeah.
other two in the trilogy either, so I need to do that as
hmm
well.
Well, I'm sure that you're at least familiar with the highway scene.
Yes.
Yeah, that's that scene is fucking crazy, and like they created an entire like highway for that, which is just that is crazy, already crazy to begin with, and the other like fight scenes are really cool, and there's no honestly I actually really liked it,
Hmm. Okay.
but I haven't seen I haven't seen Revolution yet, and due to COVID and everything, like the rules for movie theaters have gone and just like going out for stuff. The rules have gotten a lot more strict. So I'm not sure if I'm actually gonna go watch Resurrection, but I don't know. I'll see.
I'll probably end up watching it on HBO Max since that I think that's their last like theater thing that's coming out on there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'll probably just end up
Yeah.
watching that at home. But still, it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's cool that they're making another one.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's kind of movies that's been talked about for so long, and now it's an actual thing that like has come out. So that's pretty crazy, I think.
Yeah.
Um, I will say there's also another movie that like I plan on watching, but I now due to COVID, I feel like I don't really care that much about like doing all the effort to go watch it, which is Nightmare Alley.
Yeah, I was originally planning to go see that, but I didn't end up getting to it.
Yeah, and it's like I didn't even know that this film was a thing that was being made until Guillermo del Toro was like trailer tomorrow. And I was like, oh, he's making a new movie, trailer tomorrow, hell yeah. And then I saw the trailer and I saw that it was about a freak show, and I just thought like, this is the movie that Guillermo del Toro was born to make. But I've seen some of the reviews, and I've heard that this one like really isn't one of his best movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's got a 3.6 out of 5, 6 out of 5, which is like fine, but it's not as much as like Shape of Water or Pan's Labyrinth.
Right.
But I don't know. Maybe I'll see it at some point.
Yeah.
But
It's probably the same here.
I will
But
say
yeah.
the upcoming Guillermo del Toro movie that I'm really excited about is Pinocchio.
Oh yeah, I forgot he was doing that.
Yeah. Which has like a really cool cast. It's got like David Bradley, who's known as um the janitor in Harry Potter. I forgot his name. And he's also in Game of Thrones, but I haven't seen that. There's also Ewan McGregor, Christopher Waltz, Tilda Swinton, which like, of course she should be in a Guillermo del Toro movie. Oh, there's even Finn Wolfhard in that, which I didn't know. That's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, besides that, I think I think this is probably gonna be it for me in terms of seeing movies in theaters this year.
Yeah, I don't really have much else to really see either.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's about all I had to say, really, in terms of like just even discussion.
Yeah.
So let's see. I guess maybe we should get into discussing next week's episode.
Yeah. And so for next week, so obviously this week is our Christmas special. So next week is going to be our New Year's special. And we kind of thought that since it's New Year, we should probably do something big to celebrate the New Year. And we decided to talk about not one, not two, but 3 movies.
Mm-hmm.
And so those 3 movies are going to be very relevant to a certain discussion that we had today, because we're going to be watching the Sam Raimi Spider-Man Trilogy.
Mm-hmm. Which will be very interesting, because I have not seen any of those movies since I was like 8. So it's been a good over 10 years for me with those movies. So I'm very excited to revisit them and discuss them next week. And plus, and for me, another big thing that we'll be doing next week is our just kind of end of year discussion.
Yeah.
Which in terms of movies that came out this year, which is crazy to think we're already there. But
it is weird. It is really weird.
Yeah, but look forward to all of those things next week, which next week is probably sure to be one of our longer episodes, I would think.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah,
the absolute volume of what we have to talk about.
Do you think we could, this could become our longest episode just in general?
I think it has a massive chance of that. Yeah.
Yeah, because hold on, our longest episode is our pilot, which is 2 hours and 37 minutes, and considering that we have 3 movies plus we got the whole New Year's thing, it could very easily be that.
Oh, absolutely. I think there's a chance. Obviously, people in the future know more than we do. But I guess we'll see.
Who knows? Maybe it'll get to 3 hours, which is like, fuck.
That'd be something else.
That'd be cool.
All right. Yeah. Well, all right. I guess.
All right. Well.
I guess that is it for today's episode. But thank you all for watching.
Yep.
And we, like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Yeah. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Bye-bye.
Yep, that too. Bye.